Dear Nicholas Soames MP, I'm writing to express my concerns about climate catastrophe. You are aware of the scientific consensus that this is an emergency. Climate change is now reaching the end game. The issue is the very survival of our civilization. Hans Schwellnüber. I'm writing to request that this be treated as an emergency. A good place to start would be to act upon the demands of the pressure group Extinction Rebellion. Their demands are as follows. Tell the truth about how deadly our situation is. Enact legal policy to reduce the use of fossil fuels, and parliamentary reform taking the form of a citizens' assembly. Number 1, to tell the truth. You have respect and influence within parts of Sussex and Whitehall. Please use your platform to make clear the extent to which this is a global emergency. This emergency story is little understood and little talked about. With your help, we can reframe the story to one of climate emergency and climate justice. Number 2, climate emergency policy. The fact is that each time there is a movement to confer rights onto some new entity, the proposal is bound to sound odd or frightening or laughable. I am quite seriously proposing that we give legal rights to forests, oceans, rivers, and other so-called natural objects in the environment, indeed to the natural environment as a whole. Christopher D. Stone. The Sussex Wildlife Trust promotes biodiversity as a strategy to address the causes of climate change. Indeed, the tone that I glean from their website is one of dismay and resignation to the crisis. They recognise that even the most effective biodiversity actions will not address the causes of this problem. The causes of this emergency are fossil fuels, and we need emergency policy to face these challenges. International cooperation is paramount to avoid a catastrophe. Lots of humans from other nations will suffer and are suffering the consequences of our inaction on this front. A horrible irony is the industrial and unbridled growth that this nation has effected onto other nations. The issue is one of power, poverty, and injustice. Number 3, it's time for reform. Declaration to the powers of England and to all the powers of the world, showing the cause why the common people of England have begun and gives consent to dig up, manure, and sow corn upon George Hill in Surrey, by these that have subscribed and thousands more that give consent. The True Levellers, Advanced Standard, 1649. Political change comes with a fight, as you well know. The Brexit referendum, I believe, was subtextually a question of, do I trust my government? The success of the Leave campaign demonstrates that people do not trust their government. The forming of a citizens' assembly with a mandate to oversee an emergency is, I believe, our best course of action. I value your thoughts on all of this. I've got some questions that you might like to answer. Do fossil fuel lobbies hold too much power over policymakers? What can you offer in terms of international cooperation to avert this disaster? Would you back a citizens' assembly or a proportional representation reform? In so doing, have the courage to surrender some of your power? Courage is now needed, sir. Courage to change our political story, courage to enact protective policies, and courage to surrender power to more participatory suffrage.